Okay, can I get a motion to come out of executive?
I'll make a motion to come out of executive.
I'll second.
Okay, great, thank you. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Somerset Hills School District. Welcome to a meeting of the Board of Education of Somerset Hills. Please be advised that this and all meetings of the board are open to the public and media, consistent with the Open Public Meetings Act, and that advance notice required therein has been provided. This is a meeting of the Board of Education of Somerset Hills at which formal action may be taken. The public will have an opportunity to be heard as shown on the agenda. Due to the public health emergency in the state of New Jersey, as declared in Executive Order 103, the board will be suspending its normal meeting procedures this evening and conducting a virtual meeting. Directions for accessing the virtual public meeting were posted on the district website. Okay. Can we do roll call, Ms. DeMarco?
Yes, Mr. Baker,
Here.
Ms. Cooper,
Here.
Mrs. Frenda,
Here.
Mrs. Lees,
Yes.
Ms. Nathans,
Here.
Mr. Rosen,
Here.
Mrs. Tober,
Here.
Ms. Virtue,
Here.
Mrs. Rye,
Here.
and Mrs. Santoro.
Here. Okay, if everyone would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Ms. DeMarco, can we have correspondence next, and would you please read the correspondence into the record this evening?
Yes, we received an email from Katie Ryan. She writes, I'm writing because I was told that during last night's board meeting on February 24th, a Mr. Smith spoke during the public comments and stated his address is 51 Main Street in P-Pac. This is not accurate. My house address is 51 Main Street in P-Pac, and my husband and I do not know the person who spoke. I just wanted this to be noted as we do not wish to be affiliated with the comments this person made. Please let me know if there's anything else I need to do. Thank you, Katie Ryan.
Okay, thank you. Okay. I will suspend policy for public meetings. Resolve that the Somerset Hills Board of Education suspends its policies relating to in-person board meeting and authorizes virtual board meetings to occur during this period of emergency due to the COVID-19 emergency as referenced in Executive Order 103 and pursuant to Bylaw 131. Okay, Dr. Dempsey, we have the report of the superintendent now.
Good evening, everybody. As we typically do, I'd like to start with our middle schoolers. I believe Andrew and Marley are here this evening. There's Marley. Good. I see Andrew. So you guys can take it away when you're ready.
Hi, I'm Marley Beers. I'm an 8th grader at BMS, and I'm the Vice President of the Student Council. This past month at BMS has been a very busy one. Starting off is the Battle of the Books. Everyone took part in a Google form saying whether or not they wanted to participate, and we have 180 students participating. That is 2/3 of the student body. As I am a part of the Duke House, I know that participants have been having meetings weekly, catching up on where we are in our books with their team leaders. There are 20 teacher leaders preparing students in grades 5 through 8. Each grade has a different set of books to work with. The final virtual competition will be on March 25th during instructional support time in the form of a Kahoot game. Another exciting thing the school has been doing is a student council-made scavenger hunt. At student council meetings, we have been working hard on finding the best questions about Burnsville, Far Hills, and P-Pac Gladstone, from which celebrities have lived here to which teacher at BMS has an identical twin. Every morning during the announcements, one question from the scavenger hunt is read aloud to get more students to participate. Our last question was, what is the new turf field called? The scavenger hunt will end on March 26th. We already have almost 100 responses. Another set of events that has been going around throughout the month are the Pie Day activities. There's another scavenger hunt that is all about finding pie-related things. One of the questions is to find a U.S. city with a zip code containing the first 5 digits of pi beginning with the 3. Another pie activity is the Pie Day Bake-Off. The final pie activity that all grades can participate in is the digits of pi decorating. Throughout the school, digits of pi are decorated and hung up. Every day when you walk into the school, there are always so many new digits. Our pie wall grows and grows. It is now up the staircase and onto the second floor. All you need to do is submit your decorated digit and turn it in by Miss O'Halloran's door. If you complete all of these activities, you'll be earning house points. The final pie day activity that was exclusively for 8th grade students was a pie eating contest. Pie eating contest was last Friday, and we are waiting to find out who the top eaters were from each house. Coming up on April 12th is the start of BMS spring sports season. This year we have track and field, which is for grades 5 through 8, and baseball and softball, which are for grades 6 through 8. Since this is the first sports season for the school year, everyone is excited because it's the start to a new normal. Also in the works is a virtual Q&A with former MLB3 All-Star Sean Casey. Next up is Andrew Trop to tell more about some other BMS events.
Hello, my name is Andrew Trop. I'm a 7th grader at BMS, and I'm a part of the Student Council and the Student Culture and Climate team. This month, we've gone all out with March Madness. We started with bracket for favorite candies to introduce students to the concept of bracketology, which had an amazing result of over 250 students participating each round. The final 4 candies were Snickers, Twix, Kit Kats, and Jolly Ranchers. Kit Kats was the overall winner. And just 2 days ago, the Culture and Climate team released the official NCAA March Madness brackets, where students can fill it out and send it in for their house. Students can go on their house page to get instructions of how to fill out the bracket and help their house to victory. Tonight is the deadline for the brackets, so make sure to join in on the fun. Speaking of houses, last month's challenge, which was the healthcare drive benefiting Nourish NJ, was won by Princeton, their first victory this year. Overall, our school collected
Does everybody else see Andrew frozen? Andrew,
Yeah.
wait, is he back? He's back. Yes. Andrew, why don't you back up a little? The last thing I remember you saying is that the Princeton flag was flying and it was the first time that they won this year. So if you can go back to that spot and start us again, that would be great.
Got it. So speaking of houses, last month's challenge, which was healthcare drive benefiting Nourish NJ, was won by Princeton, first victory this year. Overall, our school collected 2,133 personal care items and made over 100 breakfast bags. Congratulations to everyone in Princeton, and be sure to tune in to the Board of Education meeting next month to see what else BMS is up to.
Terrific. I thank you both. We love hearing it. And I will say, I do know the middle school teacher who is the identical twin, but I will not give that away this evening. Thank you both. Lucy Taylor, are you here for us? All right.
I am.
It's the high school's turn. Take it away.
Hi, my name is Lucy Taylor. I'm the senior and the Board of Education student representative. I hope you are all safe and well. We are at a pretty quiet time in the school year. Marking period 4 and warm weather are almost upon us, which is crazy to think about. Recently, a few winter sports have ended. Congratulations to our ice hockey team who won Cup champions and all winter sports for their successful seasons. In addition, I know we are all hoping that the continuing winter sports will be able to finish out their season without another break. Wishing the best of luck to the teams in season right now and for a steady start for spring sports in the next couple weeks. Our Physics Olympics team, run by physics teacher Doc Ferrara, finished first place in one event and were top 4 in the other 2 in the all-virtual Physics Olympics competition. Congratulations to the team and Doc Ferrara for such an impressive performance. AP tests are the talk around the school as they are being offered on 3 different testing dates throughout May and June to accommodate both virtual and paper and pencil tests. Senior prom has been scheduled for June 2nd, which we are all very excited about. In addition, I know many people are working to find ways to create some of our normal senior activities while staying safe, such as Night of the Stars, which is also very exciting and something to really look forward to. Finally, students are ready to be back in person instruction tomorrow. It had really started to feel almost normal. Really, that is all I have for today. I hope all of you stay safe, have a wonderful spring break, and hopefully we can all enjoy some nice weather coming our way. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Lucy. Appreciate it. And fingers crossed that we stay right. We don't want any more breaks. Let's all be safe and keep this rolling. I want to go into the budget presentation, but my only question to the board is, would you like, Heather, to honor the retirees first? So that I just feel like that might make a little bit more sense. Apologies for not having it in that order on the agenda.
I think that's a good idea. Let's do that.
And we do have one on the agenda and one on the addendum. So Kathy, I apologize. I don't remember who was doing who.
We have Larry and Sam.
I'll go first. Good evening, everybody. I'm Larry Rosen. And on behalf of the Board of Education, I would like to recognize Magistra Judy Martin for her distinguished service to the school district, which began all the way back in September 1982. She taught Latin and a little Spanish at both the middle school and the high school. And I'll add as an aside, she taught both of my children. And so we certainly all appreciate the long tenure and all the wonderful work that she did. And I will give this my best shot. We say salutare to Magistra Martin.
Okay. Am I muted?
Sam, you're muted.
Oh, there I am. Okay. Sorry. I thought I had unmuted. Okay. I am Sam Frenda, and on behalf of the Somerset Hills Board of Education, I would like to recognize Sue Crowley for her distinguished service to our school district. Mrs. Crowley began her employment in our district in September of 2001 as the media specialist at Bedwell for grades pre-K through 4. Mrs. Crowley also participated in extracurriculars, including Battle of the Books and coordinator for the annual Author Day at Bedwell, and also served as tutor, mentor, teacher during her tenure. We sincerely appreciate and applaud Sue Crowley's service to our district and wish her well in her retirement. You will be missed.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Larry. And best of luck to Judy and to Sue. We will miss them both. And now it is time for the annual presentation of the budget for next year. Jason, if you can share that screen and get that ready, I will kick us off and then Ginny will follow up. There are many people who say that if you want to really see what a school system values, you should look at its budget. For every well-crafted school budget seeks to match allocation priorities with district goals and initiatives. The budget for 21-22 is no different in that regard. What is a bit harder this year is the uncertainty that marks our current state. We've created this budget to support a typical school year, as our overarching goal is to have school return to its more typical state in the fall. And while revisiting the district's prior strategic plan has been postponed until early in the 21-22 school year, this budget continues to fund priorities and goals that the district has established over the last 3 to 5 years. I'll speak to the highlights of these priorities and goals tonight, and Ginny will follow up with the specifics of metrics. Please note that in addition to district initiatives, the budget sustains ongoing mandates such as mentoring new teachers, Achieve NJ, the state's teacher evaluation requirements, and New Jersey standards-based testing. It also supports existing programs, provides resources to support professional collaboration, and protects our facilities and investments through appropriate maintenance and continued attention to physical security. Jason, if you could move to the next slide. Thank you. I'm proud that despite a pandemic, the district moved forward with key initiatives this year. Chief among them is the adoption of a new K-5 math curriculum, Ready Classroom Mathematics, which was chosen last year as a product celebrated for its quality and alignment with New Jersey standards. This choice included the adoption of computerized benchmark assessments, iReady. The actionable real-time data this system has provided teachers and administrators during this challenging time has been invaluable. In adopting Ready Classroom Mathematics and iReady, I thank the board for its vision, Dr. Edgerton for her leadership, and our teachers who have accommodated yet another new thing in a year full of new things. The 21-22 budget continues to support teachers' growing comfort with Ready Classroom Mathematics and the iReady benchmark assessments through ongoing professional development. It also expands the use of iReady benchmark assessments to officially include grades 6 through 8. In keeping with the board's commitment to improving the district's visual arts offerings, the board recently approved new art courses at both BHS and BMS for next year, and these two are funded through this budget. Funding for new textbooks for Algebra 1, Pre-Calculus, and Calculus is also included. In addition, state-mandated curriculum updates in science, visual and performing arts, world languages, and career readiness life literacies anticipated for September of 21 will require summer curriculum writing efforts. The monies for these are earmarked. Lastly, the district's ongoing commitment to Teachers College Reading and Writing Project continues. In addition to district funds, federal ESSA funding will continue to supplement academic support for identified Bedwell students. Jason, you can go on. The district has focused significant efforts over the last few years to support both the health and wellness and the physical safety of students and staff. This budget supports the continuation of those efforts. Last year, I stood here, well, I'm sitting now, but I did stand then, discussing the high school's anticipated switch to a rotate and drop schedule. While this schedule was run in a certain form this year, we hope to enact it in its entirety next year at Burnett High School. As you will likely remember, 3 years ago, the middle school launched a research-based initiative aimed at improving school climate and social emotional learning with St. Elizabeth's. I think the work that we have heard much of the middle school reporters talk to us about is an outgrowth of that effort. And certainly the success of this work has been palpable, especially given the challenges of remote schooling. This budget extends this initiative for a final year. And middle school families may also recall that our conversations last year surrounding the structure of middle school sports. I'm thrilled to report that this budget eliminates the pay-to-play structure in favor of one more closely aligned with the high school model. That is a structure in which one much more nominal fee will cover a student's participation in middle school, regardless of the number of activities or sports a student chooses to explore.
That the connection between the original mansion and the expansion and the addition of the two wings, there's definitely excess water infiltration at that point of connection of the two buildings.
Jason, can you mute who's ever talking?
I'm looking for them right now.
Okay, I will continue. I again celebrate the commitment of the board and the administration to their longstanding recognition of the importance of student wellness and our joint capacity to continue the work that was in progress pre-pandemic. Next year's budget expands this commitment to include a partnership with Alicia DiLorenzo. Her work through Living Yes values mental health and contemplative practices as a means to support staff's emotional literacy. Lastly, complementing this work, the budget continues to fund the placement of 2 special law enforcement officers in district schools. The district continues to value the contributions of these officers, as well as the support of Chief Valentine and Bernardsville Police Department in keeping students and staff safe while they are on our campuses. Jason, you can move on. The district takes great pride in our facilities and recognizes our responsibility to continue improving and maintaining district facilities. The board has approved the installation of needlepoint bipolar ionization over the summer to provide additional air purification in all 3 schools. In addition, we have started our LED lighting upgrade. While most of these costs will be reimbursed, the 21-22 budget supports the labor involved in updating the fixtures. In addition, various ongoing maintenance projects will be addressed. You can move on, Jason. The district continues to carefully track demographic data to ensure that staffing at all grade levels and in all content areas is appropriate. In December of 2019, our demographer anticipated that the district would serve 1,853 students in 2021 and 1,818 students in 21-22, recognizing a decreasing trend largely attributable to birth rates in our community. We are currently just about exactly at that number that was predicted for 21-22, serving 1,816 students in pre-K through 12. While the district continues to work with its demographer to predict year-over-year changes to inform staffing decisions, we all accept that these predictions in our current state come with a reduced degree of certainty. Ms. DeMarco will remind us later this evening that staff salaries and benefits represent about 75 to 80% of district budget, and the principals and I will continue to carefully monitor student numbers to ensure that we have a balance. Our goal is always to critically assess the services we provide, to ensure that we balance our fiscal responsibility with service so that every dollar spent is done so with a careful eye on need. And now Ms. DeMarco can move on to present the financial picture.
Thank you, Jason. Typically, the financial aspect of the budget development is based on historical records, as well as supporting district goals and initiatives. This year posed a challenge when we look back at our records because this past year has been like no other. We're managing to support the district financially by making adjustments along the way, and there has been no precedence to follow. This is all new territory for us. However, the Department of Education's guidance is to develop our budget to have a typical year in the fall. We have also prepared the 21-22 budget to enhance safety and practices that will limit any disease spread. We will continue to devote more resources to disinfecting the buildings and cleaning the air. Just want to remind the board that this is a preliminary budget presentation. Your approval of the tentative budget tonight will allow us to submit information to the county by March 22nd. The county will then review our budget and suggest changes and make comments. After county approval, we're allowed to publish the budget information, at which point we will then hold a public meeting on April 28th for public input and your approval. Now, looking at the numbers in this slide, the current expenses for 21-22 budget is $41,542,494. That is an increase of 2.8% over the prior year. Capital outlay is reduced to $529,646, a reduction of 23.5%, and this represents our capital projects planned for next year, for a total general fund increase of 2.4%, or $972,002. For Special Revenue Fund, these are the federal grants, the ESSA, ESEA, which is the Title 1, 2, 3, and 4, and IDEA, which is the Special Education Entitlement Grant. The revenue we receive for the federal and state grants always matches the expenses. Based on the current year's allocation, we have budgeted a decrease for next year of 21.9%. Federal and state grants are not guaranteed to be funded at the same level from year to year, and the guidance from the Department of Ed is to budget about 85% of the current year's allocation. What is not included in this number is the federal, state, and county grants we received this past year for responding to the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on our district. And the board will remember some of these grants that we did receive as a one-time relief grant are CARES Act, Digital Divide, CARES Emergency Relief Grant, and Somerset County CARES Grant. And I just recently received notice that the application for the second part of CARES Act, the ESSR2, was just released, and the details will be reported out to the board in future meetings. Debt Service Fund, this is the repayment of our bonds. There's a slight increase, which rounds out our total expense of $46,023,204, an increase of 1.7% from the previous year. Jason, next slide, please. Summary of our revenue sources for 21-22. The budget and fund balance increase of 6%. As per our 1920 audit report, fund balance was generated in the subsequent year to be used in our 21-22 budget. The capital reserve withdrawal is an increase in the amount of $77,300. Please keep in mind that at the end of last year, 1920, we returned and deposited $276,648 of unused funds, which allows us to maintain a steady balance. This withdrawal is to fund the Needlepoint Bipolar Ionization Project that will take place this summer, as Gretchen mentioned. And the local tax levy, an increase of 2% of $652,492. On a side note, we also have about $465,000 of bank cap available for use this budget. The bank cap, referred to as bank capping, was generated in the 1920 school year. Cap banking occurs when the school district does not increase the tax levy by the full 2% allowable by law. The difference between the maximum 2% and the actual levy is at that point banked and is available for future budgets. The funds expire after 3 years. The board has not used a bank cap in past years, and this year is no different. The bank cap is not included in this budget. Tuition, we have a slight increase of about 1.1%. We're expecting a decrease in enrollment, but an increase in per pupil costs. This is based on the best information we have at this time. Other revenues, these revenues include miscellaneous revenue, interest revenue, subscription busing, and facilities rental. We're budgeting a decrease of 9.7%, which results in a total local fund seeing an increase of 2.2%. State aid, we received, the good news is that we received an increase of 6%, which is an additional amount of $102,046. This increase is a little misleading in that you will remember that last year, after a budget was approved, we received a reduction of state aid of $176,695. So this is actually an increase about 18%. We are hopeful that the state is committed to this number this year, but as I mentioned before, the state's fiscal year begins October 1st, and they have until then to make any adjustments to their budget, which could impact our state aid allocations. Total general fund is an increase of 2.4% at $972,002. Special revenue funds, as I mentioned earlier, a decrease of 21.9%, which is the same as the expenses. Debt service fund, once again, a slight increase, and the state aid for debt service stayed the same this year. For a total revenue budgeted, which we're seeing an increase of 1.7%. Jason, next slide, please. Local tax levy. When we look at the local tax levy, we see that the general fund has an increase of 2%, as I mentioned earlier, 652,492, and a slight increase in the debt service fund, which results in a total tax increase of 1.8%. Jason, next slide, please. This is the tax levy by town. Please keep in mind that this is based on a calendar year of 2021. Our budget that I presented so far is based on our fiscal year, which is July 1 through June 30th. How do we determine the town allocations? We use the formula from the state of New Jersey based on allocation of equalized valuation, where the 5% of the shared is based on the state equalization valuation, and 95% of the share is based on enrollment numbers from our current year's ASSA report that was reported back in October. This formula is the method that is used by the state of New Jersey to put all 3 towns on the same level for tax certification purposes. Using the percentage provided by the state, we're expecting the tax levy for the calendar year of 2021 to be $27,491,287 for Bernardsville, $1,850,213 for Far Hills, and $6,670,464 for P-Pac Gladstone. Next slide, please. Speaking of taxes again, we're going to look at the estimated tax rate for 2021. The tax rate for per $100 for Bernardsville is 1.221. Far Hills is 0.442. P-Pac Gladstone is 0.885. These are slightly decreased from last year. You may ask, why would we see a decrease in an estimated tax rate when we're increasing our tax levy at 2%? Although we increase the tax levy, if the town's assessed valuation increases more than proportionately, you would decrease the rate. Looking at the example, you can take your home's value and multiply it by the rate to see what portion of your taxes will be allocated for schools. For example, on the slide, for a $600,000 home in P-Pac Gladstone, using the rate of 0.885, that would equate to $5,310 for school tax for the calendar year. Next slide, Jason. As Gretchen mentioned earlier, every year we get input from our demographer. But again, this is not a typical year that we've seen before. She had difficulty predicting enrollment numbers for next year due to the uncertainty we are still facing. The current projection enrollment is, as of today, we have 482 students at Bedwell, 479 students at middle school, and 812 students at the high school. Out-of-district students are 43, which includes the Bedminster High School students on our roll that financially have a different impact on our budget, with a total enrollment of 1,816. And what we're estimating for enrollment for next year is a decrease at Bedwell of 53 students and a decrease at middle school with 11 students, decrease at the high school of 2 students. And we are predicting no change in out-of-district enrollment, but that doesn't mean that there is no change in the out-of-district. It's a challenge to predict these out-of-district numbers, as they could change during the year based on student needs and potential transfer in and out of the district. However, we do know that we have 2 students graduating at the end of this year and 1 student moving out of the district. But then we have also been notified that 2 students are transferring in this summer and 1 pending placement based on need. So the estimate remains the same at 43 for next year. With that, we are projecting a decrease of total enrollment of 66 students of 1,750. Again, these are estimates based on the information that we have today. Jason, next slide, please. Budget component. This just to give you an overall big picture of where our money is being allocated. As Gretchen mentioned, salary and benefit equal $32.5 million, which represents 77.2% of the general fund budget. Special education tuition and other special education services represent 8%. Transportation represent 5%, and all others represent 10%. Within that all other 10%, 2.5% of that is utilities. So the remaining 7.5% is what remains for general school supplies, textbooks, professional development, technology supplies, maintenance and custodial supplies, and all other educational services that are not deemed special education. So as you can see, the 7.5%, which is noted as a discretionary fund, is really not discretionary at all. That is all that I have for the board. If the board has any questions for me and Gretchen.
Ginny, can you just go into a little bit more detail about the discretionary fund?
Well, all of our funds, as I mentioned, salaries, benefits, special ed, transportation, those are all fixed cost. So there's 10% remaining, which is approximately $4 million for the discretionary fund, and those things that I listed as supplies, maintenance supplies, technology supplies, custodial supplies, and school supplies, which also include textbooks. So although 7.5% is discretionary, meaning the board has a prerogative to choose however they want to spend the funds, these are still all necessary things. So I, say that there's discretionary, but we need them to operate the school.
Right, so there's not like a lot of money just laying around there to be used at our discretion, right?
Unfortunately, yes. So that word is a little deceiving. It is at your discretion, but there are a lot of things that you are required to approve for purchases for our school to run properly.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? All right, well, we thank you all. And certainly if you have questions as you kind of contemplate this, let us know. Ginny, we will make sure that this presentation is posted to the website so that it's available. And that would be the end of the superintendent's report for this evening. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Marco and Dr. Dempsey for your report. At this time, we will move to public comments. Public comments for actionable agenda items. We very much welcome input from the public. Public comments are welcome at this time on any actionable agenda item. Towards the end of the meeting, there is a second public forum on any topic. Please state your name and address. Comments are limited to 3 minutes, but an individual may speak a second time after all others who wish to speak on the topic have been heard. Please understand that our public forums are not structured as question and answer sessions, but are offered as opportunities to share your thoughts with the board. In instances where the board feels that there is a misunderstanding or inaccuracy, the board president or superintendent may address the comment. In accordance with New Jersey statute, the board will not discuss matters regarding to specific personnel. Public comments will be limited to 30 minutes. If you would like to speak, please type your name in the chat and I will call on you. We certainly appreciate everybody's input, and just 2 items of note this evening before we open up public comments. Earlier, we introduced Mr. Herman, who is our board attorney, and he will be letting each speaker know when their time is up this evening to keep it to 3 minutes. And also, I would just like to remind everybody that the chat feature is for you to put your name in so I can call for you to speak publicly and make your comments, but it is not for dialogue. Okay, thank you very much. And I will move into the It looks like we have a comment from, Lynn Weltner would like to speak.
Let me unmute. Hi, everyone. My name is Lynn Weltler. I am the Somerset Hills Education Association president and a teacher at Bernard's High School. And what I wanted to talk about is a concern that I have regarding the policy that's in its second reading tonight on family leave. And looking at the policy on page 12 out of the 41 pages of policy 1643, a question about certification, and that's item 5, letter C, that says any period of NJFLA leave for the serious health condition of a family member of a staff member shall be supported by certification provided by a healthcare provider. The concern that we have is number 3, the medical facts within the knowledge of the provider. And that is a concern we have, that this would violate the HIPAA privacy rule to give specific medical information. And that also is indicated in the federal family leave, starting on page 32 of the 41 pages for verification. Item C, number 3, a statement or description of appropriate medical facts regarding the patient's health condition for which FMLA leave is requested. The medical facts must be sufficient to support the need for FMLA leave. And letter A, this is what is concerning. Such medical facts may include information on symptoms, diagnosis, hospitalization, doctor's visits, whether medication has been prescribed, any referrals for evaluation or treatment, or any other regimen of continuing treatment. And once again, our concern is that this violates the HIPAA privacy rule, rather than just a statement from a providing physician that this person is under care for perhaps just say an autoimmune disease, but like not giving that detailed information, which we believe does violate the HIPAA privacy rule.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Lynn. I appreciate your comment and the details that you have provided. Okay, it does not look like there are any other public comments at this point. So we can move into committee reports. Bob, if you would, oh, I'm sorry. We need to approve minutes. Sorry about that.
You had to make.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve minutes?
I make a motion to approve.
I second.
Okay. Should we do roll call?
Okay.
All right.
Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Ms. Cooper,
Yes.
Mrs. Frenda,
Yes.
Mrs. Lees,
Yes.
Ms. Nathans,
Yes.
Mr. Rosen,
Yes.
Mrs. Tober,
Yes.
Ms. Virtue,
Yes.
Mrs. Rye,
Yes.
and Mrs. Santoro.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Bob, on to finance.
The Finance Committee met last Wednesday for about an hour and a half. All members were present along with Dr. Dempsey, Mrs. Butler, and Mrs. DeMarco. We talked about 5 topics, and I'll give a short summary of those 5 topics. The first one was the GASB 84, which is a new regulation for accounting. And Mrs. DeMarco reviewed that. Our auditor looked at the way we keep track of our student activity fees at all 3 schools, and the auditor felt that we're doing an excellent job and it meets the intent of the new regulations. So there was no need to develop a software package that would, not develop, to purchase a software package that would centralize all of that. That could happen in the future, but at the moment we feel that everything is under control and we meet the requirements of Gatsby 84. We also talked about the Bedminster tuition reconciliation. When I talk about reconciliation, we use a special state formula and we use a third-party auditor to look at the school year that has been finalized and audited, and that would be the 2019 to 2020. And we look at how much we charge Bedminster for the general ed students, and then we also look at what we charge them for the resource room for special education. And going through all of that, it looks like we owe, no, I'm sorry, they owe us $66,000 for that past school year, which is remarkably good for getting it that close. So our estimations are very good. And I think that's why we've increased the tuition just a small amount for going into next year, because the number of students is going to be down. But so we'll review that to make sure that all those numbers that the auditor gave us are correct. We also had a discussion about the student activity fees for all three schools, and the administration's been working very hard to align those across all three schools, as Dr. Dempsey mentioned in the budget presentation. And we're hoping to release what those numbers are going to be shortly. But it will be tiered. So the high school will be the most, then the middle school, and then Bedwell. And the goal is you pay one fee, you can do everything. You can do sports, you can do co-curricular, and it will be easy to manage and easy for parents to understand. And it gives the children and the students a lot more chance to try different things without getting too expensive. And we had a conversation about funding for the ice hockey team. As you know, the ice hockey team did a wonderful job this year. They won their cup, and we're looking for funding for them going forward. They are partially parent funded because we go with two other schools. So we have to make sure everybody's paying their fair share. So we have some more discussion on what the actual funding numbers will come out to be for the coming year. We'll probably vote on something in May or June. And finally, we talked about the school budget, which you just heard about. I don't need to say a lot more about that, but I think it's important that this is the first time where the valuations of property has gone up across all three towns. It's been, the real estate market's been struggling since 2008, and this is the first time it's actually gone up. So the tax rates are looked to be basically flat, but what I'd recommend everybody to do to understand their taxes, so you think, well, my taxes ought to be flat, may be true, but if you take out this nice little postcard that you just got in the mail from each town, and you look at your assessed value this year and last year, and you do the math, so my assessment went up 1.23%. So everybody can look at their little postcard and figure out what the school tax rate will go up. It might go this way, it might go down, it might go up. It depends on the methodology that each town uses to assess your property. And then you have to add on your county tax, the municipal tax, and the library tax to get your total tax bill. But this is the best way to do it because our tax rates are flat. So that's all I have to say on that. And I like to make a motion to move action items 1 through 11. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Janice. Any questions on any of that or any of the items on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll do a roll call.
Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Ms. Cooper,
Yes.
Mrs. Frenda,
Yes.
Mrs. Lees,
Yes.
Ms. Nathans,
Yes.
Mr. Rosen,
Yes.
Mrs. Tober,
Yes.
Ms. Virtue,
Yes.
Mrs. Rye,
Yes.
Mrs. Santoro.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, Pat, facilities and operations, please.
And this time I remember to unmute, yay me. So the F&O committee met last Wednesday at 4 o'clock. Our meeting was about 50 minutes long. The people attending were all the committee, including Dr. Dempsey, Mrs. Butler, Ms. DeMarco, and Miss Skura Conglin. And I hope I say that right. The first things we talked about was Dr. Dempsey talked to us about an exciting new club, an unofficial club, the fencing club. Mr. Hoppy is going to implement an unofficial fencing club at BMS. The current JV high school coach will facilitate the introduction of students to the sport in the hope that doing so will provide a feeder for the BHS squad. We also discussed, Mrs. DeMarco talked to us about before and after care for next year. The Somerset Hills YMCA contacted Mrs. Butler about whether the district will be participating in before and after care during the 2021-22 school year. And under the assumption, and of course we all hope this, that the district will open traditionally, this is absolutely a must do. As we know, our parents rely on this cost-effective and reliable service. We also got from Ms. DeMarco an update on the P-Pac Gladstone transportation. She has formed a committee and she is in the process of creating a survey for impacted families to ascertain whether they want their children to attend BHS via a district bus or via New Jersey Transit. So pending the outcome of that survey, the district may be able to offer busing as a choice for high school students in P-Pac Gladstone and Far Hills rather than the train. The BMS HV unit is old. In the 5th and 6th grade when the one in the 5th and 6th grade wing at BMS is original to the building. And though it was upgraded in the year 2000 to add air conditioning, it really is nearing the end of its service life. So Mrs. DeMarco is surveying our co-op with an eye towards pricing a replacement unit. Mrs. DeMarco further told us about updates in the LED light upgrade that we're doing. She said that the installation has begun at the Alcott building. And she also remarked to us that the grant, the Green Energy Program grant, ended its lighting system upgrade program. And we were one of the last, if not the last district to be approved for this grant. So yay us. We will continue to talk about the transportation assessment survey, and that is it for my report. I would like to ask to move items 1 and 2, unless there's discussion.
I just want to comment.
Yeah.
I think the fencing club is great. Do we have any idea if any other middle schools have fencing programs?
I am unaware. I know there was significant interest in having students continue to have an opportunity that they had before through a private group that used to come in and use the facility. And Mike was able to kind of Mr. Hoppy was able to put something together that he felt would at least give us something in the interim. I don't know if this is the long-term solution that he will be endorsing, but I think for now it's a step in the right direction in his mind.
Great, thanks.
And I had a couple questions about the survey, transportation survey. I think it's a great idea. Now, will the survey be distributed to all Far Hills and P-Pac and Gladstone resident or students or families? And what do you think the timing of that survey might be?
I believe the survey is going to all the impacted families. So the high school.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And our goal.
Eighth grade student, like.
Yes, 8th grade. And then
Okay.
our goal is to have the survey back before we do our routes. Depending on the response, we don't know if we'll have room for everybody. So we have to see, and it's just, so it'll probably be going out in the near future.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else? Can we take a roll call vote then?
Did we get a second?
Oh, sorry.
I'll second, Pat.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Baker?
Yes.
Ms. Cooper?
Yes.
Mrs. Frenda?
Yes.
Mrs. Lees?
Yes.
Ms. Nathans?
Yes.
Mr. Rosen?
Yes.
Mrs. Tober?
Yes.
Ms. Virtue?
Yes.
Mrs. Wright?
Yes.
And Mrs. Santoro?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. Thank you, Pat. Janice, correct. Oh, sorry. Not Janice, Nicole. I reverted to last year.
No problem. Hi, everyone. Should I go ahead? Yeah. The curriculum committee met on Tuesday, March 10th for an hour and 45 minutes, which is one of the shorter meetings we've had in a long time. And all committee members were in attendance. Dr. Dempsey, Ms. Butler, Mr. Hoppy, and Ms. Coughlin also joined us. We began the meeting by discussing the district's policies regarding the responsibilities of captains of sports teams and the role of captains practices. And in November, we adopted a mandatory regulation that stated that athletic coaches or supervising staff members are responsible at all times for the supervision of students to whom they have been assigned. Students should not be left unattended at any time. And so according to this policy, a coach needs to be present to ensure student safety. And so we agreed that coaches, student athletes, and parents and guardians should be made aware of this policy. And then we talked about the status of the testing requirements for this year. And although New Jersey is in the process of seeking a waiver from federally required achievement tests, New Jersey Department of Education has issued a memo asking districts to collect data on student performance in the areas of English, math, and science. The DOE hopes that these data will allow districts to gauge their students' performance without the burden of conducting the NSLA tests, which used to be known as the PARCC tests. Instead, the Department of Education plans to use enhanced versions of the Start Strong assessments in the fall, which they believe will allow districts to collect more actionable data at the beginning of the school year. These assessments will be brief, probably about 45 minutes in length, and tied to the learning standards. And then finally, Dr. Dempsey presented the results of the mid-year iReady classroom mathematics assessment for grades K through 5. Overall, the test revealed that the percentage of Bedwell students testing at or above grade level has nearly doubled since the first assessment earlier in the year, which is great news and a testament. This is a great news and a testament to the hard work of our teachers, administrators, students, and families. A review of the results for 5th graders suggests that BMS may benefit from additional professional development on iReady, along with more intensive instructional support and additional math-related instruction time. Plans for increased professional development and enhanced instructional support in math at BMS are already underway, and additional instruction time in math at BMS is also being considered. And that's it. Concludes my report. I'd like to move items 1 and 2 on the agenda. Do I have a second?
I second it.
Thanks, Janice. Any discussion? Questions, comments? Nope.
Okay, Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Ms. Cooper,
Yes.
Mrs. Frenda,
Yes.
Mrs. Lees,
Yes.
Ms. Nathans,
Yes.
Mr. Rosen,
Yes.
Mrs. Tober,
Yes.
Ms. Virtue,
Yes.
Mrs. Rye,
Yes.
Mrs. Santoro.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Nicole. Okay, personnel, Kathy.
Great. Thanks, Heather. The Personnel Committee met on March 11th at 3 o'clock for about an hour. Board members in attendance were Mrs. Lees, Mr. Rosen, Mrs. Santoro, and Ms. Virtue. We were also joined by our administrators, Mrs. Butler and Dr. Dempsey, as well as an administrative intern, Ms. Coughlin. Our meeting started with Dr. Dempsey informing the committee that a confidential secretary has been identified and will be on the board agenda this evening for approval. There were 23 applicants who applied and 10 candidates who were interviewed in an effort to identify the most suitable candidate. Dr. Dempsey then went on to inform the group that the SAC job description has been slightly revised to include crisis prevention under the performance responsibilities section. It was noted that this area was included as it is contained in the New Jersey School Board's job description template. Next, Dr. Dempsey presented to the committee evidence of completion of the merit goals surrounding seniority. And lastly, the committee was presented for review with a list of draft as of March 8th of personnel agenda items for this meeting. With that, I would like to move items 1 through 14 on the agenda, as well as items number 2, 10 through 12, and 15 to 18 on the addendum. May I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Jamie. Any questions or discussion? All right, seeing none, can we have a roll call, please, Ginny?
Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Ms. Cooper,
Yes.
Mrs. Frenda,
Yes.
Mrs. Lees,
Yes.
Ms. Nathans,
Yes.
Rosen,
Yes.
Mrs. Tober,
Yes.
Ms. Virtue,
Yes.
Mrs. Rye,
Yes.
Mrs. Santoro.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Kathy. Policy, Jamie.
Okay, the policy committee met on March 11th at 4 p.m. for about an hour. All committee members attended, as well as Dr. Dempsey, Colleen Butler, and our administrative intern, Teresa Coughlin. On the agenda this evening, we have several mandated first and second reading policies that we'll be voting on. And aside from that, we had a very lengthy discussion about captain's practices, which revolved around policy 2431 or regulation 2431.1. And you've already heard about that from Nicole in curriculum, but yes, the board felt that it was important to adhere to the policy and do away with captain's practices, as the goal of the board is to have athletics provide a safe and positive student experience, which involves a feedback loop. That is not something that we can guarantee with unsupervised practices and a practice led by individuals who would not be involved in the feedback loop. Aside from that, everything is mandated, so I would like to move items 1 through 2 on the agenda. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Janice. And is there any discussion?
I would just like to address for 1 second the policy 1643. that was brought up in the comments. So that is in second reading, and that was a mandated policy that was brought to the committee by Strauss Esme, right? I'm just looking at.
Correct. It combines the language from 3431.1 family leave and 3431.3 New Jersey family leave, and there's corresponding 4431.1 and 4431.3 all into one. And certainly the alert summary clearly recognizes the complexity of the law in this regard.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that I wanted to confirm here with the committee that that is a mandated one that is written by Strauss Esme for updates.
Yes.
That is correct.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
No other comments? We have a roll call.
Mr. Baker,
Yes.
Ms. Cooper,
Yes.
Mrs. Frenda,
Yes.
Mrs. Lees,
Yes.
Ms. Nathans,
Yes.
Mr. Rosen,
Yes.
Mrs. Tober,
Yes.
Ms. Virtue,
Yes.
Mrs. Rye,
Yes.
and Mrs. Santoro.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Thank you, Jamie. And Sam, community relations, please.
Yes. Okay, so Community Relations met on March 9th at 9 a.m. for about an hour. All of our board members in that committee were in attendance. We had Dr. Dempsey and Mrs. Butler in attendance, as well as our administrative intern, Ms. Coughlin. We continued our discussion regarding our webpage enhancements. We developed a rough outline with information to be included on the BOE webpage according to the categories we identified last month. The committee discussed the most important points to cover in each area and the most meaningful and concise way for that to be presented through embedded links, graphic organizers, bullet point links to outside or other district resources and the like. For this to be a valuable resource and worth our effort, the page needs to be easily digestible. Highlights with links available to more in-depth discussion of matters. This work will continue over the next month. In discussing the district goals section of the webpage, a side conversation was had regarding the intent to begin the strategic planning process again in the fall of 2021, as was the intent for this school year, which was unfortunately derailed as a result of the pandemic. The goals identified in the last round have been addressed to the greatest extent possible at this point in time. There is the need, especially in light of lessons learned and the implications of the pandemic experience, to regroup and identify the current and most pressing priorities for our district. An update was given by Dr. Dempsey and Mrs. Butler regarding spring sports. All are a go with virtual preseason instruction underway at BHS. Details at BMS were being fine-tuned for the upcoming season between Ms. Garofalo and Mr. Hoppy, and I do believe at this point in time everything has been posted. Included in this conversation was discussion regarding investigating ways to offer in-person opportunities for our other co-curriculars, similar to the experiences that have been available to our athletes this year. This would include the potential for spectators where relevant, following all local and state guidelines. Although all after-school activities have been suspended at this time, well, they were suspended, we are happy to report that students will be reporting back to school tomorrow, and activities will begin again. Dr. Dempsey and Mrs. Butler updated the committee on the conversations they had with Dr. Nigel regarding assignment due dates and times, specifically the electronic turn-in of assignments. This same discussion had not yet been had at the middle school level, and the committee still had outstanding questions regarding the process as it was explained. So the decision was made to ask both Dr. Nigel and Ms. Garofalo to join us at our next meeting, if possible, to further discuss the matter and gain a greater understanding behind the decisions as they currently stand. And that is all I have, with nothing actionable this evening. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sam. Okay, on to supplementary matters. Do any board members have anything for supplementary matters this evening?
I do. If I could take a moment, I would just love to address every one for a second with some thoughts that I have. I just wanted to take this time to address the most recent COVID case outbreak at the high school that forced the district to pivot temporarily to an all virtual schedule and the additional uptick in cases at the middle school. First, as always, thank you to the parents and guardians that report their positive test results directly to the schools as soon as you receive them. This is so critically important. No one is immune from contracting COVID. However, the size of this outbreak, for lack of a better word, in such a brief period is particularly troubling as it resulted in building closure and suspension of all in-person activities. Last week, building level surveys went out to ascertain what percentage of our population would attend full day in-person instruction if it were offered for the fourth quarter. No sooner did they go out than the district was forced to close the high school completely for in-person instruction, after-school activities, and sports. District administration and staff, with full support of the board, have been working tirelessly within the constraints of local and state guidance, as well as information and recommendations from our Board of Health to provide the most robust, meaningful, and enriching school experience possible, complete with extracurricular activities and events for our school community. This can only be accomplished if the district can ensure the safety and health of the students and staff to the absolute best of its ability. As a board, that is what we are charged with. It is our legal responsibility to follow CDC and health code guidelines and to provide a safe and appropriate education for all. It is certainly not the role of the board to tell anyone what to do in their personal lives or their homes. We are living in unprecedented times, and I fully recognize that everyone has a different level of risk that they are willing to accept for themselves and their families. Everyone is prioritizing what activities, events, and interactions are most important for the overall mental, emotional, and physical well-being of their children. In recognizing that, I am going to implore you then, as members of our school and community, to also help the district continue in its efforts to provide increased in-person instruction and additional enrichment opportunities for our students. If you are going to be engaging in what are widely considered to be high-risk activities outside of school, please have your students remain all virtual and refrain from participating in sports and other in-person co-curriculars for an accepted quarantine period following that event. That would also include restricting socializing with other students and staff who are in person or participating in in-person activities. I know these are difficult decisions to make, and I do not make this request lightly. Since the start of this school year, the majority of our population has advocated for increased in-person instruction and co-curricular opportunities. Whenever state and local guidelines have changed and eased, the district has adjusted and shifted to create more opportunity and decrease the number of those impacted by the contact tracing process. Every time we have an outbreak of this nature, contact tracing and consultation with health officials sucks the precious time of our administration, nurses, and staff, who are also the ones desperately trying to get us closer to a normal school experience. There simply is not enough manpower or hours in the day to have all of this happen simultaneously, nor is it safe to do so. As we move through SAT and ACT testing and enter into graduation season and all of the events that are typically associated with the end of the school year, the district wants to be able to offer as many safe experiences as possible. Accomplishing that depends in large part on the help of the whole school community. I think it is safe to say we are all weary from the restrictions and limitations of the last year and have had enough. But it is the job of this board to put the safety of our students and staff first. Without it, effective education cannot take place. There does seem to be a light at the end of the tunnel. We just all need to hang in there a little bit longer to be able to see it. Thank you so much for indulging me, for your time and understanding. And if you have any questions regarding how and why decisions are being made, please reach out to your building level principals and Dr. Dempsey and or Mrs. Butler at the district level for the most up-to-date information. Thanks, everyone.
I'd like to I just wanted to echo Sam's comments and really thank the teachers, administrators, and especially the nurses for all of their hard work to ensure the safety of our kids in our community this year. It's really been an incredibly challenging year, and I know that they've been working so hard to keep our schools open and safe. And that's why I think it's so important for everyone to do their part so that the schools can stay open. Just remember that the decisions parents make regarding their kids' potential exposure to COVID affect far more than just their child and their immediate family. Think about the impact of school closures on working parents with small children or on kids who are struggling with virtual learning when they aren't in school. Think about the impact of canceled school functions on students and families who aren't following the CDC guidelines. Think about the potential anxiety among faculty members who haven't been vaccinated yet. think about the hours our nurses and administrators spend contact tracing and trying to keep the schools open. I'm just so grateful that so many people are getting vaccinated now and that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. But I think we just need to continue to be careful for the sake of our school community. Thanks.
I would like to thank Gretchen and Ginny for their complete review of the 2021-22 budget. You did a great job. Thank you.
Thanks, Janice. Heather, I don't know that I've ever spoken during Supplementary Matters, but is it all right if I just say something along the lines of what Sam and Nicole were sharing? You know, looking beyond the fourth marking period, and certainly we have tried and I think been relatively successful this year in increasing opportunities for in-person instruction, but school always works on a long entry ramp, right? So we're talking about the budget for next year, and our thoughts are very tied up with planning for next year. And I know there's been some questions and concerns and conversation about who will, and I love that. That's what I embrace.
Gretchen's breaking up. I can't hear her.
But I just want to remind people that as much as we have control and decision making, also means around guidance that comes to send. Somebody hear me?
No. Gretchen, I don't know
about now.
Can you hear us? You are breaking up.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, that's better.
How's now?
Yep.
All right.
That's Can I ask you to rewind? You did it in such a lovely way before. Could you rewind?
I can try. This is extemporaneous, so I'll do my best. In looking forward to next year and trying to plan, which is what we would normally be doing at this time, I just want to remind people that as much as we have local control and decision making, we make those decisions based on guidance that comes to us. And one of the challenges next summer to happen in September. Usually September is pretty well planned by the end of June. When I think about next year, what's the social distancing guidance going to be? Can you hear me?
Totally breaking up. We really didn't hear anything, Gretchen.
All right, I'm going to try without my video. And then if this one doesn't work, I'll give up.
Okay.
Janice, give me a thumbs up if you can hear me.
Okay.
All right, good. I am thinking about social distancing guidelines, which I think a fair number of us have read sort of conflicting views of 3 feet, 1 meter, 6 feet. That kind of guidance comes to schools from the governor, from the commissioner of education, from health departments. We don't have that guidance at this point. At least I should say we don't have any modified guidance. We have what we got last June. We don't know if virtual schooling is going to be something that is going to continue. We're waiting for guidance on that. So I just want to encourage the community, parents, anybody who's concerned or thinking about these things, rather than reach out to me or to Heather or to Colleen. Certainly we're interested in it, but we are hungry for information. I can tell you that the Somerset County superintendents are authoring a letter to the Commissioner of Education as we speak to kind of implore on some of these, but reaching out, individually to your legislators, to the Commissioner of Education, to the governor, to say public schools need guidance and they need it soon. It's too late to give it to us in June or July. It's needed now. I had a meeting yesterday with Congressman Malinowski, and he celebrated increased access to vaccines for educators and increased funding that was made available. And we celebrate all of that, and it's terrific. But really, our hands are kind of tied at this point in terms of planning for September until we get more information. So if your voices can kind of add to that pressure, it can only help all of us. Thanks, Heather, for indulging me.
Thank you, Dr.
Good
Dempsey.
suggestions.
Yeah, those are great, great suggestions. And is there anybody else on the board that wants to speak? Okay, I would just like to round out supplementary matters by, thanking certainly Dr. Dempsey for the information and encouraging people to reach out to try and, help continue to move in-person schooling forward and giving our administrators the information they need to be able to do that. And then also to Sam and Nicole for, summing up really how diligently our administration has been working, or all of our staff has been working to respond to the needs of our community, and that, this needs to continue to be a team effort with everybody involved, and we can get through this school year, hopefully giving people as much as we can do safely. And without the community working together, those things certainly become at risk. So thank you both for contributing to that. I will move on to public comments. Public comments are welcome at this time on any topic. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes. If you would like to speak, please type your name in the chat and I will call on you. Again, Mr. Herman will give a warning of time at roughly 3 minutes, and I will open it up to the public. Okay, Wendy LaBruno.
Sorry, I can't get my picture up on the screen. Wendy LaBruno here, Bernards High School Learning Consultant. I wanted to thank the Board of Education for taking the opportunity to apply and receive the grant for sustainable lighting and energy at the high school and for the district. Bravo, bravo, thank you. From the environmentalist.
Thank you, Wendy. Lauren O'Day.
Hi everyone, good evening. My name is Lauren O'Day, third grade teacher at Bedwell. I just want to take a moment to recognize Stephen Mirando, Bedwell's Spanish teacher, for his dedication and the energy that he has brought to our building and the Spanish program. Not only has he rejuvenated the program at our school, but he's such a big help in working with our Spanish-speaking families, ensuring that they have everything they need when it comes to school and even some after-school programs. And we, the staff and the students, are sad to see him go up to the middle school for the rest of the year, but know that, BMS is gaining an amazing resource, and we're just all looking forward to when he returns to our Bedwell family. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim McCarron.
Hi, Jim McCarron, Vice President of SHE, and I really like to make a comment about you, the Board of Education, yourselves. And my comment has to deal with, when are you going to go live and have people in front of you? You're asking my members to now go back full day. This question has come up in the past before. It's about time that this Board of Education experiences what we do as an association. You need to have live board meetings. There are other Board of Educations that are having live meetings. Small amount of people, 30 people in a room. You say that you care about us, but it's hard for my member to really feel that when you sit and you have nothing but virtual meetings. We want to meet with the administration live. We want to meet with the Board of Education live. You need to start going to live board meetings, please, because if not, I'm telling you, as Vice President Association, you will be hearing from more and more. You're asking my members to do something that you don't want to do yourself. We do not want to hear the technology. We do not want to, because it's the same technology we do. You please, Board of Education, you need to start having meetings where people can sit in front of you and experience what we do as teachers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. McCarron. Sama Habibi.
Oh, dear God, I'm so sorry. I apologize for all the noise that I created, Gretchen, during your report. I'm using my phone and it's a disaster. Sama Habibi, 8 Mosley Road, Gladstone, New Jersey. I am on this call because Sam Frenda and Nicole Cooper, you guys were so gentle in what you stated, but I am just so angry at these selfish parents who continue to ignore that serving alcohol in your house for children is illegal. How about we're in the middle of a pandemic, and when you invite 20 kids to your house and then they get COVID, the school shuts down. Having a conversation with 2 people today, 2 separate people who stated that their kids enjoy going to school. They want to go to school. And one of them was at the high school, one of them was the middle school, and school was shut down. And all because of these selfish kids and selfish parents who think about nothing else but themselves. It's really quite embarrassing. It's quite embarrassing. And you know what? Your name is running around the community. Everybody knows who you are. Grow up. Grow up. You're not a child. You're an adult. You're a parent. Act like one. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I don't see anybody else in the chat at this time. So can we get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make my usual motion,
I'll second.
right? And I'll encourage people to continue to get vaccinated. I'm fully vaccinated and it's going wonderfully. So we're on the road. Bye-bye, everybody.
Happy day.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
I'm trying to leave.